and welcome to another episode of the Marco Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. So, today I am sitting here with Gabrielle Crichlow, and I'm just excited to have her here today. We are going to talk about organizing and planning and all of the fun things. But before we get started, Gabrielle, will you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I am the owner and director of my own tutoring company. I call Step Ahead Tutoring Services. What else? So what's important to me is reaching out to as many families as possible. However, I tend to reach out to families that are working class on the lower end of the spectrum because my belief is, tutoring should not be limited to like the wealthy or the people that can really afford it, but to those who maybe are struggling a little bit or don't really have a lot of access to those resources. So my philosophy, well, one of my philosophies is that I want to provide educational resources to the less fortunate, to people that don't have easy access to it. So I'm all about easy access to educational resources. I'm about diversity. I'm about giving everyone a fair shot. And, that's what I bring to my business and to my life as a whole.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And so Gabrielle and we actually connected through a Facebook group. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it's something about women in podcasting or women who podcast together.
Yeah.
But I was talking about my podcast and she reached out to me and said that she would love to be a guest on it. So here she is. And you also have a podcast as well. Do you want to tell them a little bit about your podcast before we hop into it?
Yeah, sure. So I'm also, through my tutoring company, I have a podcast called Hot Topics. I address a lot of educational issues, but also things like employment and self-care and mindset. But I address a lot of these issues with the intention for the audience to learn something, right? So for listeners or watchers to be better than how they were yesterday. So it's sort of like tutoring, but in a podcast form. So I bring up a lot of issues, and you, of course, are going to be a guest on it.
Yes.
And, I've been doing this podcasting thing for about 2 years now, and, still going strong. So if you want to learn something new, you want to educate yourself, better yourself, check out my podcast, Hot Topics.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And I'll definitely make sure to link it in my show notes so that people can find it easier. So, all right, you're welcome. We're going to go ahead and hop into it. So, do you consider yourself to be organized or not so organized?
I would say I'm in the middle.
Okay.
I like to use the phrase organized chaos.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah, so like I like to put things in folders, and I have, I don't know, well, it's audio, so I don't know if I'm showing my room, but I have like a corner of like files and envelopes, and then I have like another corner of like, what's in my corner right now? So like my lotions and like my laundry sprays. So it's all over the place, but I know where everything is.
Okay.
And it's like I keep certain things in a certain place.
Right.
But it's a hot mess. You know what I'm saying? So like this is my file corner, right?
Okay.
And this is my miscellaneous corner, and this is my clothes corner. And so I have all these corners and piles, but I can point and say, go to the file corner, go to the clothes corner. So it's like there's there's I could tell you where to go and you can find it,
Okay.
but it may take you a while to search through it. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, that makes perfect sense. Like in my mind, I visualize like you know how you walk into a room sometimes and you'll look at something and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a mess in here. And the person's like, but I know where everything is. And they're like, if
yeah.
you clean it up, I'm not gonna be able to find anything. And I'm like, how can you find anything now? But as long as it works for you and you know where everything is and you can find it, then that's cool. Have you always organized like that, or is this something new, or you just got tired of organizing? How did you get started, I guess, with that?
I think it's something that I always did. I mean, I do want to improve.
Okay.
I don't like being a hot mess, but sometimes I get lazy and I get like overwhelmed, and so I just kind of like I'm looking at my desk right now. It's like stacked with papers and mail and and then every so often like okay, let me get rid of old mail, and then things happen, life happens, I get overwhelmed again, and I'm just gonna keep stacking it up with mail. So I it's like, but I put it in my mail corner, right? So it's um
I'm loving all the corners here.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's something that I've always done. I keep telling myself I want to improve. Maybe I will say I improved in that I'm cleaning out things more.
Okay, that's a start.
So it's a start. It's like, okay, it's getting to be too much now. Let's throw out some of this stuff. I don't need this stuff. Um, and then especially now in this digital age and Google Drive and the cloud, and it's like I don't need so much paper anymore. Um, so let me put more things online and things like that. So I
Okay.
think I'm trying to clean up a little bit more.
Right.
That's my that I keep pushing myself to do that, but then I get overwhelmed again, and it's life happens, and then things pile up again, and it's like ugh, and then it's like I get annoyed and frustrated with myself, and it's like okay, I
Yeah.
gotta clear it out again. So I think it's something that I've always done, but maybe I'm trying to push myself more. I don't know how long I've been doing this. Maybe the past 10 years, I find myself trying to clean out a
Okay.
little bit more. So,
Okay.
but yeah, but I've always kind of done that.
Done that. Yeah, and organizing, it's hard. And I always tell people like start small, especially if it's not something that you're used to. You don't want to go and just take everything out and be like, okay, I'm going to organize it. And then you're looking at it and you have a pile of stuff sitting there. And you're like, man, now I got to put this all back because that's going to frustrate you. So just start with something small and just like working up, like building those habits, like starting with, I'm just going to put this back where it goes. Or, okay, every night when I finish working, like I'm going to clean my desk off, just small little things like that. And I know even with me now, I have the habit of my office at home, my desk is a little bit of a mess cuz it's my everything desk. So I do crafts and sewing. So I have that stuff on there. So I have to like move that stuff off to get my other stuff on there. So that one can get a little messy sometimes and a little unorganized. But now my desk at work, every day when I leave work, it's completely clean, spotless. I remember I think 2 summers ago I was out for 7 weeks because I had surgery. And so I came back and I was like, somebody's been at my desk. And they're like, how do you know that you've been gone? I'm like, this is not how I left my desk. So I think it also depends on like the atmosphere that you're in as well. Cause some people are like, oh, I'm messy at home, but at work, I'm just completely organized or vice versa. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. But just take baby steps and you'll get there. You'll get
Yeah, that's what I
there.
try to do. Like, because I've organized a couple of homes,
Okay.
as in the past, and what I try to do for those people, because when I went in, everything was everywhere, right,
Okay.
and it
Yeah.
really was a hot mess. I'm like, at least I'm like, oh, I mean, so I'm not that bad,
Right.
but it's
Right.
like, what I've tried to do for them is we do a little bit at a time. So I pull out like like a crate or little things like that, and I just like, I would say like, do you really need this? Do you really
Right.
need this? Um, and can we throw this out? Can we move this here? So it's, I tend to, so what I did for them was I start off with, do you really want this? Do you really need this? Let's put things in corners, or
Right.
let's, okay, I see you have a lot of documents here. Can we put it in a folder? Can we put it somewhere where we know you can find it? So I
Right.
try to, but with those clients, I try to put things in a certain spot or in a certain area, or just try to like to clear the space a little bit.
Okay.
And then little by little, and you keep going and things start to clear up, and and then it motivated the client more, like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're putting all the papers over here, you're putting all the clothes over here, you're putting all
Right.
the books over here. And so they see that, and they do it, and they follow my pattern. So
Right.
um and it's just, oh, I don't need this, I don't need this. And um whatever they don't need, I'll say, okay, can we donate this? Let's put this in the donate pile over here. And um so once they see my strategy, they follow that.
That
So
lead.
so I do agree with that. It's a little bit at a time, and just trying to like put things put things in order, but also like just kind of putting like things together
Right.
in a certain spot. Like I
Okay.
like the papers. Like, I see you have a lot of mail, right? Do you really need all this mail, right? Well, if
Exactly.
you want to keep this mail, okay, let's not put it on the table. Do you have a box? Can we put it in a box? And this is your
Yeah.
mailbox, right? And you kind of put the box, so it's putting, putting things in a certain area, and kind of clearing like the table, for example, where things are not on tables. And once again they see that pattern, and they pick up on that. So that's what I've
Fun.
done when I've organized for people in the past. So I think I'm organized to the point where I can organize for other people. but
Okay.
um but it's funny too, like I do it for other people, but for myself it's like, I don't really follow my own rules. But
Right.
it's like,
I think we all do that sometimes.
yeah, I can do it for other people, but for myself it's like, but yeah, but I do agree with that. It's baby steps, it's little things at a time. It's, you just got to pick a section and say, okay, what can we do about this?
Right. Today, this is what I'm going to focus on and then
Yeah.
go from there. So, no, I completely agree with it. It's like how they say, the therapist needs a therapist. So it's like the organizer needs an organizer because after you
Of
finish
course.
organizing for other people, you're like, I don't really feel like organizing for myself anymore sometimes. So I completely get it.
Mhm.
So the next question I was going to ask you, which I probably should have asked you to begin with, but it's okay. What does organization like? What does it
um
mean to be organized to you?
it means to me to know where everything is, to be able to walk through a room without bumping into stuff. But I think it's a reflection of who you are, and it's a reflection of
I like that.
what's going on in your mind at the time. So I think your house is full of clutter, right? And that goes into like people that hoard things. So if your house is full of clutter, then it represents your mind, and that your mind is full of clutter.
Okay, I like that.
So when I say things like I get overwhelmed, and you can see it in my living space. My living space looks overwhelmed and crazy. So I think when I try to keep myself organized, it's really like I'm trying to balance myself, and it's a reflection
Hmm.
of my emotions and how I'm feeling. And so what does it mean to me? It means how I keep what's around me is a reflection of how I keep myself. So it's, if my room is a hot mess, then I am a hot mess. So
Okay.
I try to uh, keep things, put things in corners and in folders, and I love me a folder, and really trying to keep things together because I'm trying to keep myself together because I know myself I can be disorganized and all over the place. So I think it's, what does organization mean to me? It means me, and
Okay.
it means how I keep what's around me is how I keep myself. And so, and if your life is chaotic, then what's around you is going to be chaotic. So it's a reflection of where my mind is at the time. It's a reflection of who I am, um, and if you want to improve yourself, you improve the area that's around you, and once you do that, then you can improve yourself.
I love that answer. Like that's
Mhm.
amazing. And I never really thought about it like that, but that is, I do feel like it's true because they do say a lot of times like how you're feeling, it's you reflected in what you do and in other areas of your life. And so I really think that that's a good comparison with organization and how it's a reflection of you and what you're going through at that time. So yeah, I think that's an awesome answer. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just,
So
sorry, just to interject.
oh,
Um,
go ahead.
so yeah, so like someone who's really depressed and really sad, they're not going to keep their house really clean, right?
Right.
There's going to be like piles of clothes on the floor and papers. There's going to be food, like food crumbs. Like hoarders, for example. Again, they're really depressed. They're really sad. They're really withdrawn, and so they're keeping all these things and in the living room, and like you can't really walk through it because they're
Right.
they're closed off from the world. And so how you are psychologically and mentally is going to reflect. It's going to manifest itself, and what's going on inside of you is eventually going to come out, right?
Right.
So and how it comes out is in your space, right? So someone
Right.
who's really sad or really angry, they're not gonna well, very likely that their living space or their office or whatever is not gonna be very clean, right? If you're sad and angry. Might be it might be a little bit different for a workplace because there's other people around, and
Right.
so there might be like the fear of humiliation and embarrassment. So you don't want people to know, and so you're gonna, keep your desk clean a little bit more. So I think there's the presence of other people. So I think work employment might be a little bit different, but I think it's when you're home and by yourself or around people, your family or whatever, you tend to just kind of let it all go. So
Yeah. You tend to just be your true authentic self at that time.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And so what tools do you use to stay organized? I know I heard you say that you have your file folders and your filing cabinet and envelopes. What else do you use to stay organized? Do you use like a planner or reminders or anything like that?
I used to use planners, but I gave up on that. But what I do, I use the calendar on my phone. So I think
Okay.
I'm using, definitely, like, I've been all into Google Calendar, maybe in the past, like, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So I've used the Google Calendar to put all my events. Um, I try to write things down on post-its, but then I have a post-it pile. um, a lot of
Nothing wrong with a post-it pal.
file, post-it file. A lot of folders. Oh, I really want to like show you my corner. Okay, but it's a lot of folders. What else? I'm looking around my room.
Well, show me the corner. Even though they can't see it, I want to see the corner. Show me the corner.
Okay,
I'll describe it to
let me
them. Okay, I see it.
Right. So I have my like container on the top. I have boxes of like printing paper.
Okay.
I have some garbage bags here on the top shelf. And then
Okay.
on the second shelf, I have my microwave, envelopes, garbage, recycle bag. So I keep all my like folders and labels and
Okay.
stamps. And then I have my accordion folder full of personal documents. And then on the third shelf, I have Bibles, folders, and then my big container of school supplies. And
Okay.
then on the bottom shelf is all like really big envelopes, or the package envelopes, and I have two boxes of business size envelopes under that. So
Okay. So for
that's my
those of you
office.
that are listening, well,
Go ahead.
everybody's listening. So there are a lot of folders, a lot of folders, everyone, and a lot of envelopes. so so everyone, if you could just use your imagination for a minute and picture like a four shelf like bookcase type thing, maybe with folders tucked into little corners of it, and then envelopes, and there's a microwave kind of in the middle of it a little bit, and then there's a bin on top. Which are there more folders inside the bin there?
Which one? The one on the third
The
shelf?
the one on the top shelf.
So it's like the hanging folders, like
Okay, okay,
like the office hanging folders, like when you pull open the cabinet drawer
okay,
and you have
gotcha.
those hanging folders. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, if there's ever a folder shortage, we're gonna go and get some from Gabrielle because I promise you, they're all on the shelf in the corner right there. So that's where we're going for folders, everyone. I love it. Thank you so much for showing it to me. I love it. But as long as you know where everything is, though, that's all that matters. Like to someone else, that system may not make any sense, but that's what works for you, and that's what makes sense to you. So that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And that's what I try to get people to just understand about organization. Like it doesn't have to be some state of the art system, or it doesn't have to be something that takes you a lot of time or that frustrates you. Like it just needs to be what works for you and how you can find stuff, So I love it. I love it. Yeah. It's
Thank you. Thank you.
you're
So it's
welcome.
if someone's like, "Hey, I need a folder," or I'll be like, "Oh, I got you."
I
So
got
it's
you, yes. Or an envelope, or an
or
envelope.
an
Like, actually,
envelope.
yeah, I probably need to send my mom to you because she's always like, "Do you have an envelope?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I absolutely do not." Now I know who has all the envelopes. So, but no, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
do you have any tips for organizing, or like a funny story about organizing, or anything you would like to share?
I don't know about a funny story, but I guess when it comes to tips, I mean, don't put things all over the place. There's one thing that I've learned from my. I think I got it. I got like my parents are opposite. My father has he has things in corners, and my mom puts things all over the place. So I think I'm a hybrid of the two. Now that I think about it, but excuse me. So I would say, don't try to put my tip. Try to put things in a certain area, and and just remember to put things in that area, right? Because I think when it comes to organization, you have to be consistent, and
Right.
that like my father, like he has a section for all the car keys, right? Because and because if that section weren't there, we would put it on the table, we would put it on like all over the
Yep.
place. But my father was like, no, this is the car key section, put the
Right.
keys in the section. And then you have to remember that. And then again, when you get overwhelmed and you don't think about things, you don't really, it's easy to let things slip. And so
I
you really
agree.
have to like push yourself and say, I'm going to put my keys in the car key section, So
Right.
organization takes work. And I think when you're emotionally overwhelmed, you're sad, you're stressed, you tend to just, there's this feeling of like apathy, like I don't really care. I'm just going to throw things wherever into the wind. And then now when things settle down and now you're trying to find it, now you're searching for it and things like that. So I think it helps to have an area where something is and you want to stick to that area. So, like, this is the envelope area. This is
Right.
the clothes area. This is my mail pile. That's, and
Right.
this is where I keep my folders. And this is where, like, don't put your papers all over the place. Invest in a cabinet. Invest in a container with the little hanging folders. Take the time and put things in folders. Um, so, like, just treat your home like an office space. And I
Right.
think it's the more things are in certain places, the more you can find it. So just imagine like someone else coming in and trying to look for something. How would you describe it to them, right? So I
Right.
think my tip would be to have an area, right? Like this have an area and say this is my area. So like how all my school supplies, I keep it all in a container, right?
Right.
So all my school supplies are in the container, right? So it's don't have papers all over the place. Take the time and, like I said, invest in a cabinet, invest in a file cabinet, invest in a an accordion folder. Even though I might start to phase those out, but invest in the little containers with the file folders and put things in folders. And this is all the bills, and this is all the letters, and this is all the medical information. And actually take the time and sort them out and put them in folders and put it in a container, right? So they're
Right.
not all over the place. And um so yeah, I guess if that makes sense. I
No,
know.
that no, that actually that makes perfect sense. And it's funny that you say that you're like a hybrid between your mom and your dad because I feel like that's how my son is. Like I'm the organized one and my husband's the one that just sticks stuff back and then he can't find it later on. And then sometimes my son will be like, "Well, I can't find, my shoes or my switch or something." And I'm like, "I'm not looking for it. Put stuff back where it goes." But then other times he's like, "That doesn't belong there. Who put that there?" And I'm like, "Either you or your daddy. That's who put it there." So it's like he's in the middle of us. So it's funny that you say that. And then like you said, you're like looking for stuff, and it's like, well, and I tell my husband this all the time. I'm like, if you had to just put it back where it was supposed to be, you wouldn't be spending time looking for it right now. And he's like, well, do you know where it is? I probably do, but you know what? I'm gonna let you squirm and let you look for it because you should have put it back where it belongs. So no, that makes absolutely perfect sense.
Or
So
like key bowls. People have the key bowls, so put the key in the key
in the book.
bowl.
We have I got it because so when you walk in, you come in our garage, our kitchen is like literally right there. And so we used to just like put our keys on the island when you would walk in. And I was like, okay. So I got a key hook that's literally to the left. You walk in, you can just hang it on the hook. Where does his keys go? On the counter. And then he'll be like, I can't find my keys. Or on the table. Or sometimes they end up upstairs. And I'm like, there's no reason that your keys should have came upstairs with you. Like that is a downstairs. Leave them downstairs. And then I'm like, how did they make it up here? So yeah, it like I said, everybody has their own form of organization. I just know that when it's time to go, I need to know where my keys are, and I don't have time to look around for my keys. So
And it's like,
yes,
but you have to take a second. Like that's the thing with being organized. Like you have to slow your brain down. You have to take a second. You have to push yourself and force yourself to put things in a certain place. Because I think
Right.
when it's like, I'm trying to go, when you're moving too fast, you kind of just put things all over the place, you know? So
Right.
I think
Yeah.
when you have to force yourself to slow down, force your brain to slow down and say, let me just take 2 seconds and put the key on the key hook, right? So I don't have to think about it. And so when I'm ready to go, oh, it's on the key hook, you
Right.
know? So and that's the thing with being in a society where everything is like fast and quick and, and the computers are getting faster and faster and faster. And
We are.
so are our brains. And it's like we can't keep up with that. But
Right.
just taking 2 seconds and say, let me stop myself and do this small thing, and that can go a long way. So that would be another tip I would say is stop yourself, take 2 seconds, and do this small thing.
I
You
like
can take
that.
2 seconds and just stop yourself and just let me do this small thing. Let me put this envelope in the envelope pile.
Right.
So
Right.
um it's really just stopping yourself and slowing your brain down and forcing yourself to put things in order.
Order. I agree. I completely
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. Well, I thank you so much for being a guest on my episode. And I know that you're going to come back again for my entrepreneur episode. So we'll be chatting again soon. And like you said, I'm going to
Yeah.
be on your episode. So I will make sure to just link all of that in the show notes. And before you go, I am going to link in the show notes, but before you go, just tell people where they can find you at and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So my company is Step Ahead Tutoring Services. You can find me online. My website is www.astepAheadtutoringservices.com. You could also find me on multiple social media platforms. So just type in A Step Ahead Tutoring Services and I will pop up. You'll see the logo, the pencil logo with the gray and black tip. So again, A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. You can find me on multiple social media platforms. Just do a search and it's right there. And my podcast, Hot Topics, you could also find me in the podcasting world. Same thing, put A Step Ahead Tutoring Services, type it in your favorite podcast platform, and my show will pop up. It is called Hot Topics.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And you have a good one.
You too, you too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please make sure to follow and rate the podcast whenever you listen.